Hello, howdy. Hi, everybody. Sam Goodman. Really fucking scary stories. Thank you for joining us again today as we continue down the creepy and crawly and macabre rabbit hole that is known as Season 3 of Really Fucking Scary Stories. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. We're into Episode 2 of Season 3, and we're just chugging right along. Chugga, choo-choo. We're moving right on down this really fucking scary story train track. But before we get into today's episode, do me a favor. Head over to www.palehorsemedia.co. You can check out this podcast. You can check out all the other ones we have going on over there, like the Hop Nerd Podcast and Hey Y'all with Sam Goodman. If you want to find a way, or if you're looking for a way to show some love for the show, want to show some love for the Really Fucking Scary Stories podcast, or the Hop Nerd, or Hey Y'all with Sam, or you just like what we've got going on, and maybe you like some of the designs, maybe you like some of the stuff we have in the merch store, that's a great way to do it. Go pick up a t-shirt, go pick up a hat, go pick up whatever we've got going on over there. I will tell you that it is awesome quality stuff. I am a t-shirt nerd. I can't stand these freaking cardboard box t-shirt things, and hats same way. So I will tell you that I order all those samples. I try all that stuff out to make sure that we're bringing you really, really, really cool, really, really fucking scary stories. Merch. Go follow along on all things social media. You can find Pale Horse Media Co. pretty much anywhere where you find social media stuff. You can find me on the gram, Sam U. Goodman. Just go at Sam U. Goodman. It'll pop up. You'll see me. I share all kinds of cool stuff there. And if you want to get in contact, if you have some paranormal, creepy story, you have some experience with true crime, you just have something creepy or crawly that you want to share with us, go over to palehorsemedia.co, not CA. We're in the USA. Go over to palehorsemedia.co and use the handy dandy contact form to send us your story. If you want to come on and share it, you can. If you don't, because I know some people get a little, that's probably the scariest thing for some people, is maybe talking in public way more than the stories that we share. But if you want to share your story, you can come on and do that. If you don't, you just want to send us a copy of it, I'll gladly share your story as part of one of our listener stories episodes that we've been chatting about, or as a full episode. But today, we're going to jump down the creepy, crawly, and macabre rabbit hole with the story, the true story behind the Amityville Horror. The Amityville Horror is one of the most iconic and best-known haunted house stories of the past century. There was a 1977 novel about the incident, then there was a blockbuster film that came out in 1979, and then there was just tons and tons and tons of sequels, reboots, knockoff films, just about every decade since. The story just continues to kind of perpetuate. It's just always living. It's just always there. I think there was one in 2005. I'm sure there's been a bunch more recently. There's tons of documentaries out there. So if you want some homework, if you want to go back, I'm not going to make you read the novel. I haven't read it, but go back and watch the 1979 film. Jump into the one that I think is from 2005. There's a bunch. There are just a bunch. Some B-rate, some just absolutely over-the-top Hollywood stuff. Just tons, copious amounts of spin-offs and sequels and reboots and all of that stuff. So whether you believe in ghosts or not, we're going to touch on both sides of this, because this is a mixture, right? This episode is a mixture of true crime and kind of the paranormal on the backside of that. And I think that's exactly where we have to start. We have to start with Ronald DeFeo Jr. So Ronald DeFeo Jr. and his family basically moved into this house on 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and killed his mother, father, and 4 siblings while they slept in their suburban home in Amityville, New York, i.e. Amityville Horror. DeFeo was later convicted for their murders, and he remains incarcerated today. Needless to say, with all of its occupants murdered, the house was soon on the market, and in December of 1975, the Lutz family moved in. But before we jump into the Lutz family story, let's talk a little bit about old Ronnie boy here, Ronald DeFeo Jr. There's a lot of suspicion that circulated around these murders. There was just a lot of kind of strange things, right? Just a lot of strange things. So Ronald had this kind of interest in the occult from some of the things that I've read into, whether that was just suspicion or truth, who knows? But he was apparently dabbling in the occult. He had some kind of wacky stuff going on with that. The victims, Ronald Jr.'s parents, Ronald DeFeo Sr., 43, Luis DeFeo, 43, his siblings, Don, 18, Allison, 13, Mark, 12, John, Matthew, which is 9. They had all been shot with a 35 caliber lever action Marlin 336C rifle around 3 o'clock in the morning of that day. His parents had both been shot twice, while the children had been killed with single shots. Physical evidence suggests that Louis DeFeo and her daughter Allison were both awake at the time of their deaths. According to Suffolk County Police, the victims were all found lying face down in their beds. The DeFeo family had occupied 112 Ocean Avenue since purchasing it in 1965. And all of the victims, 6 victims, were buried in the nearby St. Charles Cemetery in Farmingdale. So what was really strange about this is that a lot of these... So you got all these people in this house, and you think rifle, loud, but number one, none of the neighbors heard gunshots. So strange, just other than they're strange. Not completely, off the rails strange, but strange that no one at 3 o'clock in the morning heard these massive gunshots in this kind of close-knit neighborhood. But then also, none of the victims moved. They all seem to have not put up any type of struggle. They were all found face down as if they had been posed that way, but it appeared as if they had not moved at all. So apparently after committing these gruesome crimes, just murdering his whole family, Ronald DeFeo Jr. kind of went in, took a shower, got ready, and went to work. He later come up with some kind of wacky ideas, like pretending like he discovered the bodies, and then later saying, that he was held at gunpoint and forced to execute them. Just some crazy things. During his trial and prior to his conviction, he mounted an affirmative defense of insanity, claiming that he killed his family in self-defense because he heard their voices plotting against him. The insanity plea was supported by a psychiatrist for the defense. The psychiatrist for the prosecution maintained that although, and here's some key indicators here, he was a user of heroin and LSD, he had antisocial personality disorder and was completely aware of his actions at the time of the crime. On November 21st, 1975, DeFeo was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder. On December 4th, 1975, Judge Thomas Stark sentenced DeFeo to 6 sentences of 25 to life. As of right now, he is held in the Sullivan County Correctional Facility in Fallsburg, New York, and all of his appeals have been denied. He told detectives, once he finally confessed to carrying out these killings himself, and that this alleged hitman wasn't a real thing, he confessed to the detectives that once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast. He admitted that he had taken a bath and redressed, and then detailed where he had discarded crucial evidence such as his blood-stained clothes, the rifle, and the cartridges before just going to work as usual. So yeah, I'm just gonna murder my whole fucking fam and then just go to work. Kind of backstory on DeFeo a little bit is he had troubles with drugs, alcohol. He was more interested in hanging out the bar than he was going to work. So he had a lot of problems. He had quite a bit of problems. It sounds like I'm not a doctor here. I don't have that DR before my name, but it sounds like he might have had some serious mental health issues of some kind. Again, I'll let you be the judge of that. Either way, justice was served. But that leads us into the house itself and the story of what's become known as the Amityville Horror, and what ultimately led to a lot of these movies and things that have demonstrated kind of this haunted activity in the house. So, 13 months later, 13 months after DeFeo had murdered his entire fam, the Lutz family, as we mentioned, the Lutz family purchased the home at a drastically reduced price. Could you imagine? I wonder why this price is so good. At the drastically reduced price of $80,000. So they're looking for a house. They didn't have a clue that this was the DeFeo house, that this was a murder house. And they're like, ooh, look at this, $80,000. Fucking sweet house. Great price. Don't ask any questions. Let's just buy this. I don't want to miss out. Let's just pick it up. So obviously it was $80K. Dude due to the fucking slaughter that happened in there. But they ultimately only lasted 28 days before leaving it. Their spine-tingling tales of paranormal activity are what propelled the house into legend and what spawned the Amityville Horror, a torrent of books, documentaries, films, all the kind of stuff that we talk about that's still being produced to this day. So the Lutz family experienced supernormal activity. Stepfather George Lutz had a history of dabbling in paranormal stuff. He had a history of dabbling in the occult. George was said to wake up at 3:15 a.m. every morning before he knew much about the crime. He would wake up at 3:15 a.m. every morning, which is around the time that Ron carried out his murders. So 3:15, boom, wide awake, can't go back to sleep. And there you go. Fucking strange to me. The Lutz family claimed to smell strange odors, see green slime oozing out of the walls and the keyholes, and experience cold spots in certain areas of the house. When a priest came to bless the house, he allegedly heard a voice scream, "Get out." That's from the movie, too. That's in the movie. He told the Lutzes to never sleep in that particular room in the house. And I've got to tell you, like, I don't know, I'm not like super religious, but if a priest is like, don't fucking go in there, I think I'm going to heed that warning. A nearby garage door opening and closing, that happened pretty frequently. An invisible spirit knocking a knife down in the kitchen. A pig-like creature. So Georgie is apparently staring up, and he's staring up and looking at one of his kids in the window, and he sees a pig-like creature with red eyes behind him, staring down at him from the window. He runs up to check, and apparently the kid's asleep, like there's nothing going on. So pretty fucking strange. Some other experiences George had of walking up to his wife Kathy. She was levitating off the bed. Sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating together in their bed. So a lot of really fucking crazy poltergeisty things that we've seen and we've chatted about in other similar stories, such as the Enfield poltergeist, such as anything that seems to be poltergeisty, I guess. It's kind of, levitation seems to be a thing, the knocking, the bumps, kind of all that seems to be the same. The pig-like creature is really fucking strange. So that one is just kind of out there. That's really fucking scary. As with any of these things, many folks question the validity of their story. And as I tell you all the time, I'm not going to make a call. I mean, I have my personal opinions, and I'll let you be the judge. It's not my place to be the judge. I'm just going to drop the factoids on you. I'm going to drop the fact bombs up in here. So how about this? After telling their story, George and Kathy took a lie detector test to prove their innocence. They passed. The couple was bogged down in legal and financial issues, which prompted skeptics to believe that they had a motive to create this massive, crazy story to sell it to the public, which, let's just say, there was a book that came out, right, that shared the story. I don't know if they profited off of it, but I would make a broad assumption that they did. The Lutz's former lawyer, William Weber, who fell out with them over money issues, came out in 1979 claiming that the three of them came up with the horror story over, quote, many, many bottles of wine. And that's how we come up with most of these really fucking scary stories. I think that's a good t-shirt, over many bottles of wine. Son Daniel, who lives a quiet life in Queens, New York, as a stonemason, claims the house ruined his life and that he continues to have nightmares to this day. So it seems to be having a lingering and lasting effect on Daniel. Murderer Ron, who is still alive and serving those 6 25-year to life sentences at that New York correctional facility, claimed he heard voices urging him to kill his family. He has changed his story like bunches and bunches and bunches of time. So after the Lutzes ran away, the house sat unoccupied for like a really long time. I wonder why. Could you imagine? There's just a massive fucking book deal and a movie, and yeah, let's just move in there. That sounds like a great place to hang out. Maybe Zach Bagans. That seems like a great thing for Zach Bagans to acquire, but guess what? It's not on the market anymore. At least not. I haven't Zillowed it. I haven't looked, but just off of my notes here, it officially sold in February 2017 to an undisclosed owner for $605,000, which was $200,000 less than the original asking price. It had previously been owned by 4 families since the murders, one of which had the address changed. So just to avoid the kind of notorious 112 Ocean Avenue address, they lobbied and got it changed to 108 Ocean